The Man Who Laughs by Victor Hugo, Part 2, Book the Fourth, Chapter 9. Abyssos abyssum vocet. Each day, for a sublime minute, the earth, covered by night, rests on the rising sun. Dea, blind, felt a like return of warmth and hope within her when she placed her hand on the head of Gwynplaine. To adore each other in the shadows, to love in the plenitude of silence, who could not become reconciled to such an eternity? Gwynplaine was dreaming of Dea. Of whom else should he dream? But that evening, feeling singularly troubled and full of a charm which was at the same time a pang, he thought of Dea as a man thinks of a woman. He reproached himself for this. It seemed to be failing in respect to her. The husband's attack was forming dimly within him, sweet and imperious impatience. He was crossing the invisible frontier, on this side of which is the virgin, on the other the wife. He questioned himself anxiously. A blush, as it were, overspread his mind. Gwynplaine felt an indescribable yearning of the flesh, which abounds in all temptation, and Dea was scarcely flesh. In this fever, which he knew to be unhealthy, he transfigured Dea into a more material aspect, and tried to exaggerate her seraphic form into feminine loveliness. It is thou, O woman, that we require. Love comes not to permit too much of paradise. It requires the fevered skin, the troubled life, the unbound hair, the kiss electrical and irreparable, the clasp of desire. Too much of the heavenly in love is like too much fuel on a fire. The flame suffers from it. Gwynplaine fell into an exquisite nightmare. Dea to be clasped in his arms, Dea clasped in them. He heard nature in his heart crying out for a woman. Like a Pygmalion in a dream, modelling a Galatea out of the azure, in the depths of his soul he worked at the chaste contour of Dea, a contour with too much of heaven, too little of Eden. Virginity is but the hope of maternity. Still, in Gwynplaine's dreams, Dea until now had been enthroned above flesh. Now, however, he made wild efforts in thought to draw her downwards by that thread sex which ties every girl to earth. Not one of those birds is free. Dea, like all the rest, was within this law, and Gwynplaine, though he scarcely acknowledged it, felt a vague desire that she should submit to it. This desire possessed him in spite of himself, and with an ever-recurring relapse. He pictured Dea as woman. He came to the point of regarding her under a hitherto unheard-of form, as a creature no longer of ecstasy only, but of voluptuousness, as Dea with her head resting on the pillow. He was ashamed of this visionary desecration. It was like an attempt at profanation. He resisted its assault. He turned from it, but it returned again. He felt as if he were committing a criminal assault. To him Dea was encompassed by a cloud. Cleaving that cloud, he shuddered, as though he were raising her chemise. It was in April. The spine has its dreams. Whither flew his thoughts? He would not have dared to own it to himself. To heaven? No. To a bed. Something within him was calling Dea aloud. Dea the maiden. Dea the other half of a man. Dea flesh and blood. Dea with uncovered bosom. Gwynplaine's love of Dea was becoming nuptial. The moment was come. Gwynplaine coveted the woman.